Hi everyone, this is Chris from Chris Watches Pretty Little Liars, aka Magoogs, aka Mac to the Gal, aka me. This is the first of two specials I had now. Granted, I said, "Oh yeah, this will roll out all of August," and then you didn't get anything. So I apologize for that. Just sometimes schedules are challenging, and so it just so happened that August is travel month, so I'm kind of rolling these out as quickly as I can in anticipation for the season 3 premiere as of this coming Friday. So this should hit sometime this week, and the other one should be sometime this week. What you're about to hear is a season 2 finale, deep dive with two new guests to the show, Amánda Toffee and Laurie Darkbloom. They'll be joining me after the music here to chat all things the show. We did chat beyond the finale, as you'll hear, and they have some opinions on the show, which I'm very curious to hear what you all think. Both of these are going to be a little bit longer than my normal recaps, but hopefully it makes up for the lack of content here in August. And I'm still working on one more surprise, so stay tuned for that. That might happen later in September. So stay tuned. Maybe I can pull that off. That'd be quite amazing if I do. But you know what? I'm already chatting way too much. And this is a long episode, so I'm just going to go ahead and let the conversation lead us there. Just start the music. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars, so he can help you figure out who's A. Hi everyone, this is Chris from Chris Watches Pretty Little Liars, aka Magoogs, aka Mac to the Gal, and I am joined by two very special guests, new panelists to the show. I have Laurie Darkbloom and Amánda Toffee to talk about the season 2 finale. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I first gotta figure out, when have you ever been Mac to the Gal? When has that been a...
Well, Laurie Darkbloom, that is my Twitch name for those of you out there who want to watch me on Twitch. You can follow me at Mac to the Gal, where I play scary games.
Laurie doesn't follow Chris on Twitch. This is really awkward and
I do not. No, I don't.
Laurie Darkbloom, after we record, please go ahead and anonymously follow me on Twitch.
Yeah, I follow Toby Kavanaugh on Twitch, though. He's great. He just picks up trash around burnt buildings, so...
Everyone's got to do a job, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Unmasked, the season 2 finale of Pretty Little Liars, and a small little game my two guests are playing this evening. I told them that obviously we're talking about tonight's the finale here. I know they watched the season finale of season 2, but they did not tell me how much previously they've watched. So at the end, I'm going to try and guess how much Amánda Toffee and Laurie Darkbloom have actually watched previously of Pretty Little Liars, and we'll see if I'm right. I don't know.
A real adventure.
Great. So I've already done like the kind of dry recap. So I kind of want to just slowly move through the episode, talk about some big moments, and get your thoughts, reactions, raves, maybe a rant. I don't know about the finale. So I figure we should start at the very beginning here in the house with the four liars. They're having some ice cream, and Spencer's sister Melissa comes in and is acting really strange. What did you all think about this?
No, she's not. I'm gonna just say she's acting as she's always acted.
She's acting according to character, which is manic. She's manic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's first of all, like, so much direct eye contact.
Oh,
it's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Too much.
Why would you take somebody else's ice cream? Like, you eating that? Never once in my life have I not been eating the ice cream that is in front of me.
Yeah.
If somebody came up to me and audited any time in my entire life and were like, "Are you eating that ice cream?" I'd be like, "You're an idiot. Of course I'm eating it. It's ice cream and it's in front of me." I
gotta be honest though, I was a little frustrated with Arya because she was like, she just gave it to her so sheepishly. And I was like, if it was me, I would have been like, "Come at me, bro. Like, what do you, take my ice cream from me. I dare you." And so Arya just kind of handed it to her. And then she takes like a teensy bite of it. And I'm like, if you're going to go through the trouble of menacingly trying to steal ice cream, you better goddamn fist that thing. Like, just chug it,
What's the rating on this show, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's TV 14. I think Oh, yeah. This show? Oh, yeah. We can swear.
Our show. Okay, great.
Be
This
as
show.
explicit as you need to be.
Okay,
Fuck shit, damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
right.
you know, God forbid we upset the people who are passionately watching several adult men have sex with young women, underage young women.
We'll get to Ezra.
And the others.
And the others.
And Garrett. Yes.
Yes. And Toby.
Toby is supposed to be, I think, their age. He's supposed to be in high school or a year older than them, I think.
You've seen his forehead wrinkles.
That plastic surgery is at least 12 years old.
But before we leave that moment, I think in that opening scene, why Arya does that is because there is the missing gun of Spencer's father, and I think at that moment they all think Melissa has it on her, or she might enact violence.
There's a moment where they think she's A.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
fully.
Well, they think that they thought everyone is A at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, let's not forget that Spencer is now in love with the person that she thought was A in the beginning of the whole series.
That's true.
And then thought was A again a little bit. And then thought, you know, so it's like, you know, and then thought that he was back together with his stepsister.
Oh, right.
So it's, you know, there's been a whole, it's just all crazy.
It's been a rough year for them.
I would, it has been a rough year. Their hair is so shiny though. So they have that going for
shiny.
them. So shiny. Yeah, I think, I just like their sister relationship is so weird and complicated, and it just in ways that it just like shouldn't be. Like I don't understand. I don't know, man. It's like
she keeps dating child molesters.
There's that. I know, but why does she keep blaming her sister for it? She's like, you, a child, seduced my grown ass husband.
I mean,
get out of here, you child.
Look, I don't think we should blame the victim, but I do think in this scenario,
listen, it's not great.
Yeah,
it's not great, but she's a freaking kid.
If I go, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. If I walk through, if I poke a hornet's nest and then open my mouth and walk forward, I'm gonna get some hornets in my mouth, you know. And it's like she constantly is wide mouthed, you know, like just waiting for these men to hit on her, and then shocked when it happens.
Yeah,
and it's like that was your whole thing all along. So, you know,
but also I think. Well, I personally think my own A theory is that there is like one A person that kind of protects one of the liars, and I'm sure we'll get there. But I feel like Mona protects Hannah a little bit. We'll get to Mona. That's very complicated, of course. I think Melissa has a very tense relationship, as you're saying, Amánda Toffee, with her sister, but she protects her also in a little bit way. So the other three, F them, right? But her sister, she won't let the worst happen to her. And I think all of them might have one of those kind of people in their orbit when it comes to A stuff.
Well, as we can see, I think that one of the A's, or one, you know, I don't know, whoever is extremely homophobic because they keep trying to kill Emily. And it's just like, we get it, you know, like, stop it. Like, move on.org. You know, like, somebody go after Arya. That's all I'm saying.
Add it to the list of people that are homophobic.
Yeah.
This show.
Well, speaking of Arya, I mean, we'll get to that, I'm sure, specifically, but she kind of removed herself from A's tactics because, well, all of season 2, she's like, hey, by the way, I'm dating Ezra. Everyone knows now. So in a weird way, she kind of removed A's power over her because all of her secrets are now, well, most of her secrets are out in the open.
This is like thematically a truth will set you free sort of show.
I guess, yeah.
You know, like but at the end of the day, like there's kind of this, if they would all just, like, oh, I mentioned before that I'm coming up with a drinking game for this show. Yes. Every time one of the characters said, why didn't you tell us? You take a shot. Yes. So like, I think it's like, if they were just honest, they were just fucking honest from like nothing, there would be no show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There,
and they keep doing new things. like Emily with the scholarship. They keep doing new things, thinking they're going to get away with it, and it's
Right.
like, look around you. You know, like who? What,
You pretty little liar. Look around you.
And the credits show up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Take your shiny hair and your lies and go.
Yeah.
So back to the episode.
Sure.
Before we leave the first scene,
Yeah.
the mysterious messenger shows up. They get tickets to a masquerade ball. This comes out of nowhere. The junior whatever society. They're like, yes, we're going to go. And there's a little A note inside. Be there at midnight. I want basically the phone that they got at the beginning of season 2. A is saying, give it back to me. And the implication is they'll figure out who A is finally.
They're like,
Yeah.
we're not just gonna go. We're gonna go with bells on.
Yeah.
With these masks that we've had for just such an occasion.
Yes. All their costumes. They're so ready to have these costumes,
Mhm.
you know? And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
They're ready for it. They're ready for anything.
They get there.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love the, you know, the heartwarming, upbeat, just love story for the ages of Romeo and Juliet? Just, you know, like
Nothing. The perfect relationship.
just a relationship that just wins on all levels.
Yeah, not problematic in any
Yeah,
way.
not an issue in any way whatsoever.
Well, maybe Caleb hasn't read that yet. Maybe he's still working his way up the Shakespeare.
I don't know if Caleb can read.
Well,
Sick
we
Caleb
know
burn.
he can because just off in the distance, there's always somebody holding up cue cards for him to read his lines.
So sick burn. Chris is never gonna have us back on this show.
The fans will love this. The fans will love the roasting.
I had to come back because I love you. Thanks. So romantic, Caleb. Thank you.
So many, like that dance scene. So many teased happy endings. Basically, it's like this is
Yeah.
what could have been. This is what could have been before it's all ripped right away from you.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the healthiest relationships on the show is Hannah and Caleb. As ridiculous as that sounds, they're both age appropriate. And they work through their issues. They talk about them. Sure, they might have issues. There might times come up when they have a fight and don't talk, but they've been pretty good since they got together.
I mean, Hannah is shockingly, I feel like, becoming the most, like, responsible. I mean, she's going to therapy. She's, you know, she's working through her issues with her dad. Although, she still is on the fence about whether or not she truly trusts him. And so, I don't know. She's being more open with her mom, like calling her mom out on stuff. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still an awful person.
Chris, did we interrupt? You started this with a question. You're like the dance, and we're just like, brr.
No. Hey, this is a free form plugging the network that it was on. Conversation.
Boo.
Boo. But
They blinded a woman. I'm sorry.
And then slapped her.
I'm sorry. I just have to. I couldn't hold it in anymore. It was running through me, and I just, they physically blinded. They maimed a woman.
And then slapped her.
well, actually,
They're mad at her for being slightly upset that she blinded them. Like, they're mad at her for that.
Well, Allie did it, to be fair. Now, the Four Liars, well, this is interesting talk
They
about
were
the
there.
show. They were there. They are the, what's that, bystander effect? So
Yeah.
a lot of their A stuff now is coming at them because Allie was the ringleader. She did actively a lot of this. They are getting the blowback because they were part of her posse and they never stopped it. So, do we feel that the A stuff that comes at them equates their lack of intervention during the Allie years? Like, should one of them have stopped Allie? Obviously, someone should have stopped Allie. They didn't.
Well, if you're asking me if they should have a psychopathic stalker, no. Like, I don't think that for anyone.
Sure.
But if you're asking me if they should get retribution, if they should suffer consequences for, blindly going, play on words, blindly going with their sociopathic friend who, wanted to maim a woman and then not doing anything about it, then yeah, they should be in jail. They should at least have community service.
My question is, do we think that without because you see the character growth, right? Like you just said, like Spencer becoming more of like a fully realized person with morals and a compass and all that.
Hannah.
That's the one.
Spencer's a sociopath.
Hannah is yeah. So like Hannah, all these characters look the same to me, by the way, guys.
I know. I'm shocked that I can
all of the
discern
white
them.
men in this show look the same. They all look the exact same. I will not be told otherwise. All the white guys look the same, and all the guys are white. So there you go. I think that I guess the big question for me is, without A's actions, do the girls become better people? Because I don't see a direct correlation between A's actions and making the girls better people, necessarily. So it would stand to reason, if you removed A's retribution, these girls would become, in theory, kinder people that are maybe a little nicer to, what's the guy who's like, you friend zoned me, get in this boat.
Lucas.
Lucas.
So like, they became nicer to Lucas, right?
Get in this boat.
He's that dude.
That's his autobiography. Get in this boat.
Get in this boat.
He starts as like a level weirdo and then goes full incel.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there was like the one sympathetic character. Nice. But like, would they have come around to being kinder to him, for instance, without A's retribution and her punishment? Because if the answer is like they needed that fear to make them kinder to other people, then what was the question?
You asked the question.
I did. I'm just thinking about it like from a storytelling perspective, like, it was like whether they deserved it. That was your question, Chris.
Does all this A stuff based on well, I mean, Laurie said they don't deserve a stalker, of course.
Right.
But they're getting
like really put through the ringer.
Yes.
And it's like, if it makes them better people, then yeah. But if it, to an extent, I agree with not deserving the stalkery part of it, but like, does her action, their A's action, make them better people? Then if the answer is no, then like, no, it's just terror at that point,
Well, see, I think that goes into the thing, like, when we get to the end, when we saw that, we saw that somebody quote unquote was A, it felt to me like, and I think we learned that this wasn't in my opinion, this isn't the only A, or this might be somebody, because, she says, I did everything you asked me to. So this isn't the only person working for A. Like Chris had said, there are people that in the A realm that protect the liars, some of the liars.
That's your theory, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's my theory is that, like, if Mona is a little more protective of Hannah, but lets A's do whatever they want to the other three. Melissa might protect Spencer a little more, but not really care about the other three.
But so I think that there are different A's kind of, texting and calling the shots, because there are some times, where, like, for example, when they had them do all that stuff where they had them, like, I can't even think of like all the shit that they had him do, but they had him do all that crazy shit, right? In the middle, like, and to save the therapist,
right?
And they had him do all that stuff. So then that is sadistic, you know.
That's world's like worst therapist, by the way.
Oh,
she's like, well, I don't think therapy's working for you. Also, don't talk to your friends anymore. Also, I'm working for the enemy, and I'm a grown ass adult reporting to a child. What? Yeah. Take away her license.
They threatened my son that I could easily call the police, and like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Yikes.
Like I am a 32-year-old woman who had trouble, going to the police. So I wanted to make sure that you ladies did it. You teenagers. did it. I will say though that the actress who plays the therapist is very attractive. So,
Is it Annabeth Gish, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets a pass.
She is a pretty little liar.
She is a pretty little liar.
She gets a pass. So,
Someone else told me, I didn't even think about this. I always, because when we first meet Dr. Sullivan, she seems trustworthy. Granted, Amanda, her methods are not great. But then at the end,
her methods are quit. This isn't working for you, and don't talk to your friends anymore at all.
Right.
Well, she works with Hannah, and then the girls eventually like open up to her.
Yeah, but they try to open up to her, and then they can't because they see Ezra's certificate on the wall, and they go home, and she calls the parents, and is like, "This isn't a good fit. I quit them. Also, don't let them have their support networks anymore. Bye."
Well, someone threw a theory at me, which I had never even considered, that what if Dr. Sullivan is also compromised? What if she is not really who she says she is? What if maybe this is evidence that she really isn't a therapist?
It's Ezra in a rubber suit. That's why she's got his diploma on the wall.
It's Ezra in makeup. He takes off his eyelashes at the end of the day, and he's
just like a terrible cut.
Yeah.
Like you just see the edit of him. It's
Ezra's
him.
like, the sexual abuse of a minor isn't enough. I got to get inside her head too.
Speaking of terrible editing,
are we talking about that?
I'm just gonna run.
The note cards are out the window. Yeah,
Chris is gonna have to re-record this episode with people that are better.
I'm following where I'm being led.
I don't know if you want to backtrack from where I'm going, but did anybody notice just the quick? I mean, I pulled a muscle in my neck yesterday just standing watching teenagers play tennis. That's how unfit I am. Mm-hmm. But I still felt like severe whiplash from the scene where they're, Spencer and Arya have just run in and said, the Norman Bates Jr. is back. We got to go. And then cut to dance.
Yeah.
Did anybody else go, what happened?
Yeah.
Wait,
you thought you missed something?
Yeah.
What'd you think, Chris?
Yeah, that happens a few times in this episode, which I don't know if it's a time thing or what, but
feels like maybe they had like a C storyline in there that they had to cut for time, maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe Travis Ritchie, who played the creepy guy, maybe had a bigger story to tell. I don't know.
I'm sure it seemed to me, and I don't know why, but it just seemed to me like they really wanted this character to make it through. Like they wanted this character to be like, going through, like maybe the character dates Arya's mom, in the third season or something. Like it's just something where it's like he seems like a creepy guy, but he's actually really nice.
Yeah, he's really nice.
To cover his creepiness.
He's really nice until he's stabbing you in the shower wearing a mom skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is the first. Well, that's not fair. They've done it a little bit up till now, but that whole motel sequence, especially the first time we see the motel, and I guess the new show, Original Sins, is really leaning into this. That was definitely just all horror movie motifs, which, again, the show had not really done so much up until really right now.
For sure. I do say the one part where I laughed out loud was when they're driving up and it's like windy and raining, and they're like not sure if it's the place, and then Spencer holds up the postcard of the thing and goes,
right,
and it like lines up, and she's like, "This is it," and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell is going on here? It's a drawing, and this is an actual place.
So maybe we should just cut right to the A stuff, because we get to the dance, right? Well, we can talk about Ezra. I feel like we should devote maybe 10 minutes to that situation, but
that's for me. That's my gift. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. But they're racing around. Three of them are chasing this person who is the Black Swan, and then Spencer is with Mona. And I'm sure, and I actually asked people who'd watched the show at the time, I asked them, at the time, were you as fans surprised that Mona was A? And they were like, no, we kind of saw it too. So that wasn't a big, yeah. So what do we think about all that? She's right in the room. She drives Spencer to the lookout point. They fight. She goes over a really short drop, does not die. It's like literally.
She's like tripped.
Yeah.
She's protected by all those cashmere blend sweaters, though. She'll bounce right back.
So is she really part A, or is it another whole layer of subterfuge happening?
Well, what feels like to me is that they didn't know if they were getting canceled or not, so they filmed 2 endings. So it's like, we have an option to keep this sucker going, and that is that we're going to kill one of the most likable characters in the show, and we're going to, like, what is the phrasing they use? They're like, because of her personality, she revs up and she can be everywhere. It's like, what are you talking about? She's like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it was like, such a weirdly scientific,
such a weird diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how personality disorders work. They don't give you another sense that, like, oh, you can be because science. It's like, no, incorrect.
It took me a second to be like, is she saying Mona's magic?
Yeah,
like,
that is for sure. So I don't know. Like, I liked seeing the A room, the hideaway. You know, I thought that was really interesting. Maybe there's a part of me that wanted it to really embrace the horror and have, like, first of all, the discovery not be as heavy-handed. Like, do we need to go straight from gum to gum? Have her offer gum earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
Or in a previous episode, and then have that realization hit her, and then have her get clubbed and wake up in this room, like, tied up or something. Like, and then have the other girls try to save her. Like, I thought it was really kind of weird that it kind of just came down to just the 2 of them at the end. And that it wasn't the 2 of them it wasn't the character that Mona's obsessed with. It wasn't Hannah.
Right.
I felt as though if this all was for Hannah, we should have had this, like, it's all for you, Damien moment.
Yeah.
Between
Hannah keeps canceling on her.
Right.
So it would have seemed like she would have been the one to bring her out and be like, you know, I'm doing this all for you, and I feel you slipping away.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I totally agree.
I would have bought into that more, I feel like, and I think it would have been more interesting and more dynamic, even though I guess that here's maybe a bigger picture question, but it is actually relevant, I promise. Who's the protagonist of the show, do we think?
It's a great question. I think it's Allie.
You think it's Allie?
No. No, you think
I'm not
it's
asking
Allie?
who the good guy is. I'm asking who the protagonist is.
She is this larger than life person. We see her in flashbacks. Well, not everything. So much is resulting from her. The fact that they were friends, the fact that all these people are so pissed for various reasons, her effect still goes on.
But do you think she's the protagonist or the catalyst? Because I would argue that Arya is the protagonist of Pretty Little Liars. Because we start with her, I believe. I think the show starts with her.
Because they're moving back from Iceland, I believe, if I recall correctly.
I think so. We're starting with her. The show at the very beginning, it feels like it's predominantly through her POV. The biggest romantic relationship explored throughout the entirety of the show is between she and the child rapist. Fucking Ezra. You know what I mean? So in my mind, she is the protagonist of the show. So it was weird to me that final showdown between Mona and what's her face?
Spencer.
That it was between Mona and Spencer and not Mona and Hannah, at least.
Well, I think maybe the flaw might reveal, and I know I'm getting in my theory territory, that Mona was doing this because Spencer, if you recall, I think it was this previous episode or 2 episodes ago, Allie, as a dream, is in her front room, and Allie always thinks Spencer is the smartest of the 4. I'm sure there might be thoughts on that, but I feel like Spencer knows what's going on, and I feel like Spencer is on this A case more than the other 3. So if Allie is working with Mona, it was important for Spencer to be there with Mona during all this nonsense.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made also that Spencer is the protagonist. Because she's the one that stands out most from the girls. And usually that trait that's kind of your, you know what I mean? Like, your lead is the one who's maybe like a little bit of an outsider. I mean, for God's sakes, she knows who Mary Queen of Scots is, folks.
Yes.
She's unstoppable. What doesn't she
Who
know?
who doesn't know that?
Yeah, she probably has a first edition of some kind in her room. I mean, I
yeah.
can't even.
But she
But
writes
yeah,
in
like-
it.
Yeah, but she writes all over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an interesting question, and I was thinking about that as I knew that we were going to be talking about it, and I was thinking about kind of how that showdown could have been like maybe a little more satisfying. Do you know how this was received, Chris? This but from people that watched it in real time. I guess that's in theory what we would be doing if we were better guests.
Well, yeah, like I said, I guess people figured Mona was part of A. I don't know how good my own theories or your theories would have stacked up to their theories at the time, but I mean, I guess they're watching the same show we are, so.
Were either of you surprised by Mona being A, quote unquote?
I was, because I will say that after season 1 I thought, okay, she's definitely A. And then as like and then we uncover, and then like Hannah gets mad at her and doesn't won't talk to her and stuff because of everything with Caleb, and then she's trying to like prove herself again. And I just felt like it to me just seemed like, well, it's a little too obvious to say that she's A now. And that, I don't know why I was like, they've waited too long, but it's like, why, they don't care about that, so why should I? And, and then I think that, it just seemed to me like she definitely seemed like a broken individual. But, they kept flashing back to all the times that Allie was just absolutely horrible to her and the other girls didn't do anything. And so it just seemed to me like, okay, she's a broken individual who desperately wants to still be Hannah's friend. I don't think she's A. I just think that she's got her own thing going on. So, yeah, that's... And then when they found out she was A, I was like, it just, to me, seemed like, why would she devote that much attention to somebody other than Hannah?
Yeah.
If you're focusing on the other girls, like, that doesn't make any sense. You would just focus on Hannah.
The punishment didn't fit the crime to
Right.
me. And I know even from the character's point of view, like, I had a really hard time buying that it was this elaborate for like being snubbed. As somebody who's like lost a best friend, and it was like really, really hurtful and very painful to me, it's like, it's a super emotional thing that we don't talk about a lot, is like how hard a friend breakup is, especially when it's not necessarily it's one person doing the dumping. Like, a friend breakup is, in my opinion, like, it's so much harder than a romantic relationship ending.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of liked that. I liked this idea that she was like, no, she's mine, but I felt like it could have gone a different direction. And yeah, I could have spent a lot longer in that weird layer. I really could have. Like, what else does she have?
Well,
like, you could have been all of these great little Easter eggs from the entire series so far.
Yeah.
That we could have seen more of.
I will say though that seeing that layer, I did love the layer. I will say, I agree. I totally agree with you. But seeing that layer made me go like, okay, A is an older person, because this person printed the internet. Like, there's papers all over the place. It's like, if A was a true teenager, there wouldn't be so much, like, I legitimately feel like I think I saw a printed email. It's like, that's my father. He's a 60-year-old man, like.
Is A your father?
Yeah.
Laurie's
Darkbloom?
Darkbloom?
It's a twist. Mr. Darkbloom?
Mr. Darkbloom
Mr.
is
Darkbloom
A?
is my, Bill
This
Darkbloom
is the twist.
This
is
is
my
the twist.
father. Yeah, this is it. So I definitely was like, yeah, I would have loved to see that. And I would also love to see, like, like, just receipts that have, like, call dentist on them or something.
Right.
just like,
Put the
random
$20
notes.
back in my savings.
Yeah, just
Right.
cough drop wrappers all over the place for no reason, but yet still, like, a persistent cough. Like, it just, like, all that stuff I would have loved to have seen. So.
Well, I rewatched the episode just before we recorded, just to especially that layer scene, because I'm working on a theory. And granted, I know there's show reality for audience. So when they first open the door, by the way, I think the person who plays Mona, I think she's fantastic. I love her performances on the show. She acts surprised. Now, granted, Spencer's not looking at her, and I understand the show is trying to trick us too, but she looks surprised. And then when they go in the room, she's like rooting around for stuff. Now, again, I guess that could all be for show, but like Spencer's not looking at her, and she goes to a diary. I saw her take out a diary, and she's like reading it, and then she finds those sketches to show Spencer. So what if she is there to help someone find the layer? Maybe she didn't know where this place was.
I mean, I think she was instructed to take Spencer to that space. And that,
Yeah.
I mean, she's been there before, because otherwise, I mean, what is it like? And then offer her gum. Ooh, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, but her gum wrapper's in the book.
Yeah.
Right, which again, I know this is what I do in the show, so apologies. But what if that was also for Spencer to find? What if she was being obvious so that Spencer thinks we have A, it's all done, at the end of the episode, hey, we found A, we can relax now. And that's why Mona's like, I did what you asked.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt
Yeah.
for a second that that's exactly what it is. I just think that Mona has been in on it longer than, like, I don't think she's, like, new to this game. I think that whoever it is using her mental illness to involve her in this
Yeah.
thing. But I don't know how deep it goes. Oh, I would love to eventually learn, like, did you guys think you were getting canceled, or maybe you didn't know? It does, because it does feel to me like there are two scenes that are in there. It could have gone one way or the other.
Yes.
It would have either given them closure, or they are like, but we can keep it going.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So I think it is so cut and dry. Either this could be fully wrapped up, or it could be, going. Whereas in a lot of shows, there are more loose ends to close.
Yeah.
That this feels almost too clean to me. So I would love to know, like, when did you get your pickup? Because, it felt like it could have really gone either way. So if that's the case, then the answer is, if it ends in season 2, it's Mona. If not, we have to come up with somebody else. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I totally agree. I just going back to your guys' like, who's the protagonist? The one thing I will say that I liked about this season rather than last season was I felt like, I don't know, maybe it was just like the first season just felt like they really focused more on Arya than before. And I'm not saying that they didn't focus on her in this season. I mean, she had her fair share, but I felt like they focused a lot more on the other characters, on Spencer and especially Hannah and Emily. And so I kind of like that. So maybe I feel like, in my opinion, I think like one of the things that I like about the second season is it almost seemed like as A was focusing on one of the girls, that's then who was focused on in this a series of episodes, or that sort of thing. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that Arya wound up being not the most interesting character. She did not have the most interesting storylines. A lot of times that happens with like a straight person, right? Like straight man in the show. It's like, oh, we lose interest and we want to follow the characters a little bit more. And I think that because they're all kind of straight men in their own way, that it would have been very easy for them to be like, oh, I don't want to write for Arya anymore. Like, this is boring. All she's got is this romance. Like, let's explore these other characters with the shoplifting and, with the coming out story and that, and all of those things.
and the lying about the scholarship. That's such a dumb thing.
A lot of hoops jumping through to make that one work.
That was like, I mean, honestly, it was like, I felt like they were like, okay, and then we're going to get a PPP account, and then we're gonna lie and we're gonna open up a Big Five Sporting Goods, and then we're gonna funnel the money that we make from the Big Five Sporting Goods and then put it into Play It Against Sports, because Play It Against Sports you can resell old equipment, so we're tripling our profits.
The perfect crime.
And then it's just like, I would have been like, where are we how are you gonna stay? And then what's so crazy is it works. I mean, it basically works. That's the thing that pisses me off. Is like, I was like, there's no way that this family is gonna. Oh, okay, no, yeah, you're right. Never mind. The parents don't have a say.
They don't. None of the parents have a say. They're like, you're not gonna see your friends. I'm like, she is spending every night with a teacher.
She's seeing them more.
Could you possibly keep her from her friend group?
Yeah.
You psychos, you have no control in this situation.
Also, did anyone... Okay, we're gonna... I hope that this jumps us into the Ezra thing, because I just want to talk about... I know Amanda has, her thing where she wants to talk about, the child rape, but
I don't want to talk about it. I'm just stating the facts that it was really hard for me to get over it.
You were adamant at the
I
show. You were
was.
like, if there's nothing I talk about, it's gonna be
That it's the primary relationship and it's idolized and it's used as a great example of love triumphing over everything and no lessons are learned and no punishment is brought.
and everything terrible happens to that. I mean, I love each and every one of you, and I love my fiance to death. But I swear to God, if somebody said we're firing you because your relationship with Chris is, affecting, I'd be like, he's gone. I don't. Chris who? Mac to the what? To the who?
Twitch.tv/Mac to the Gal.
But yeah, I want to get into that part, but I also want to talk about just how his academics, like, how do you go from first year, not even like a full year teaching in a high school.
Like, you're ready for college.
He took that time off. He has no higher education. He's not a graduate. He just got his credential.
But Laurie, he writes poetry.
Yeah. He had a whole reading in season 1 at a cafe/bar where I'm assuming it's those places where you get stamped if you're under 18 or under 21.
Well, as we see in the very first episode, Arya just walks in and orders cheeseburgers from bars.
She also, all the girls, presumably under 16, because this was in the pre times when Allie was still alive. They're just like, "Hey, cop, we've had too much to drink. Take us home." And he's like, "Okay." They didn't even give that cop a line. They didn't even give that cop a line. He's not like. He just gave him a lift home.
In defense of the show, which I know is a very bad idea tonight. However, I will say, in ritzy suburbs, I was not part of ritzy suburbs, but I knew people who lived in those suburbs. That I believed. The cop would be like, "All right, get in the car. I won't tell your parents." Like, that shit does happen.
Really?
I believe that a lot more than the handful of detectives who've been like, I know you ladies are up to some shit.
I love these hard-boiled detectives in this tiny ritzy suburb.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna solve this crime.
I swear, this is the crime that keeps me up at night. It's like,
can I say I loved one thing? I love the episode where the mom that's a lawyer.
Yeah.
She pulls up and she's like, "What year are you in? You can't interrogate children?" And I'm like, "Yes, Spencer's mom.
Yeah.
Correct." And then she's like, "You get out." Like, it's just like that sharp dose of reality where that cop is like such an asshole and he's like, "You murderers, you treacherous bitches." And her mom's like, "No, you can't say that. What year are you in?" And then she's like, "All right, all you kids go to your overage boyfriends and have fun. Don't bother me anymore."
So they're in the finale.
Yeah, we should refocus on the finale. We're going off. This is going to be an 8-hour podcast.
Sorry.
Say whatever you want to talk about. I'm
conflating so many. I watched so many episodes in the past 2 weeks.
We watched a lot of this in a very concentrated period of time.
So many episodes. I watched too many. I feel like 1,000. They're in Ezra's apartment, right? Because he's gone off for like the umpteenth time to figure himself out, even though he has like no job.
How did he keep coming back?
I know.
And why did he keep the apartment? I thought he was leaving town, and so he keeps
every
the apartment?
time I thought he was gone, and then he'd be back, and I'm like, so not only do they break up, you're just still here?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Leave.
So then
Leave, Ezra.
They're laying on the bed, and then Arya goes, "Oh, guys, get off of that. That's like, crime scene central," or says something along those lines.
It's sacred, right?
Yeah. And I was like, I would have been like, "Have you guys not washed your sheets? Like, this is a criminal offense. You guys should be doing laundry daily, like to make sure that things don't get, I loved how they were like, when he wasn't a teacher, they were like, "Oh, we can date."
I know.
And then I feel like somebody, season 2, was like, "You guys still know that this is legal, right? Like, we should not be as excited as we were at the end of season 1.
Well, a defense, again, I don't know why I'm defending the show. When they do, earlier in the season 2, when they talk to the parents, that was finally like, oh, thank God. Like, they're finally seeing reality. Like, Byron wanted to murder. Like, her dad, I was like, oh, shit, he is gonna lose his mind. So, granted, we've slowly veered away from that moment.
And then, nothing happened.
Nothing, no.
Byron gave him the job offer. parachute of beyond comprehension, and he's like, no, thank you.
He gave so a man is raping his child, and the way that he gets rid of him is by offering him his dream job. Yeah. In a different state. Like, that's how he's like, I'm going to show this son of a bitch. I'm going to give him the best job ever.
Well, I didn't buy it either until Ella says to Byron, if we push her away now, they're just going to run away and we'll never see her again. And in that moment, that's the first time I was like, Byron, like, took it down a notch. Now, granted,
She's like, this is the kind of hands-off parenting that our daughter needs.
Yes. They always like almost start to parent.
Oh wait, they get so close. They're so close to being a parent.
So many times. Like in the second season opener, they were like starting to parent, and then they all of a sudden decided to throw that curveball of like, well, your therapist, after getting frustrated that you guys wouldn't talk to her and not doing anything to try and get you to talk to her, decided to call us up and tell us about it, even though she's bound by doctor-client privilege.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, and told us that she thinks that you guys should not be there, and we agree. We've read articles about it. It's like, you guys have had 40 minutes since the kids got home. Like, how many articles?
Where is your son? Do you even know your son's name?
Yeah, I love
you
how...
You know his name. He's such a little creeper.
I forgot what episode it was, but it was the episode where he's like stealing something, or he like breaks something, breaks into someone's house, and
he's string of robberies.
Yeah, and then they're finding out, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And then one of the friends was like, "Oh my god, Arya, your brother, who is still struggling with the divorce." And it's like they had to hurry up and give the backstory of what's Mike before, so that way people were like, "Oh, she has a brother." Okay, all right.
It's like, who dat? That's she's just like, who? And she's like, oh, right. Yeah. Yes, brother.
Honestly, I feel like what happened is because there was like a couple of scenes where they were like staring at each other, and I feel like what happened is that at some point in season 2, one of the writers got a script and goes, no, dude, Mike is her brother. She can't have sex with him. And they're like, oh, well, we filmed like a couple of scenes already where they're giving each other steamy looks, and they're like, all right, we'll just keep it in, but it's fine, it's whatever.
Siblings in this show, not good relationships with siblings.
Not good.
Chris, what's next on your note cards?
I threw it a little far away, but how about we just jump? I feel like we've beaten around the bush. How about we wrap up with A stuff, and then I'll give you both. I mean, we've been doing our ranting and raving, but like I give you time to really hit home on something we haven't covered yet. But at the end of this season, at the end of the episode, right, Amanda, you touched on it. I agree with you. It feels like they were prepared for a cancellation or a continuation.
Yeah.
So if Mona is not A, or if there is a bigger A network, what is it? What are they trying to do? What do both of you think is going on with all this A stuff?
I thought that Mona was A from maybe her like first or second episode appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
She says, you're my best friend. And I'm like, who is this bitch? And then she's just like disappears again for a while. And then she's like at the fashion show and she's horrible. Like, I'm like, she's A. Like, she's gotta be. She's always there. Like, she's like, what do you mean your best friend? Like, this like really convenient character, right? She felt like she was just there. So it doesn't surprise me that other people in real time didn't find it the most surprising. I don't know, man. It's hard because there are all of these little context clues that I kept trying to think like, okay, A has beautiful eyes in theory, because there's like that waitress that's like, hey there, pretty eyes. You want some coffee? And it's like this person is wearing black gloves and a black trench coat, presumably in the middle of summer, because everybody else is wearing summer clothes. Like,
and nobody finds it odd.
Nobody finds it odd.
Now here in Rosewood.
Yeah, we do know that, presumably, unless this goes really deep, that Mona was the one that was threatening, in some vague terms, the psychologist, the therapist's son.
Yeah,
because
that's how she got her to disappear.
Well, that's per Dr. Sullivan, who now I'm suspicious of, even her.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, Dr. Sullivan was there. I do find it really weird that Dr. Sullivan showed up at the accident. Why would she be at that? Like,
Right?
we called your old therapist to be here. Like,
Yeah.
she showed up within. She was like a first responder.
Yeah, she called Toby, if you recall.
Yeah.
She calls Toby when he's
No.
moving stuff from one pile to
Yeah.
another,
Oh,
to quote another guest. Which is
No.
also like, why would you call Toby?
he called her
I don't remember. Well, either way,
in the
why-
finale. Yeah, he was like, there's something else going on, because remember he said it was the hardest thing for me to pretend not to love you. So I was like,
Right.
so why was he faking that the whole
Right.
time? But
That line.
she said she wasn't going to come forward, and then a friend of theirs talked to her and convinced her to do it. And then Toby is revealed, and that's how they get back together.
These people have not had hard lives, because the number of times the hardest thing I ever had to do is used in the first two seasons. I'm like, you haven't had a hard life then.
No.
That's why all of this is so devastating to Rosewood. None of you have ever been challenged even a little bit. The hardest thing you've had to do in your entire life is like not date a child.
Yeah, which they're failing at.
They're
So-
You're not doing well.
You're not
You're not really not building a
and
character.
failed.
Yeah, Laurie. I don't. Chris, what do you I mean, do you think that the doctor could be A, or in the A? Do we think an A is a one person, or A is a group of people?
Well, my longstanding theory is that Allison is running her own A network. There is at least one faction, if not two factions, against Allie. The two big things I haven't figured out in my own theory crafting is, what is this thing that has caused all this? It's got to be pretty big. It's got to be a secret that is challenging, even for us not in Rosewood. It's got to be really big, because the FBI is sniffing around. They haven't been around in a long time. It's got to be really big. And then why doesn't Allison, my theory is that she is alive, why does she just tell her friends, psst, I'm alive, just go with it, I'm doing a thing? Like,
And they
why
go,
does she
Why
not-
didn't you tell us?
Exactly, yeah, like, don't worry about
yeah.
it, I'm doing a thing, just go with it. And then she disappears. Like, why doesn't she do that?
I mean, I don't know.
Why?
I feel like if they were my friends, I probably would have ghosted them and not told them about it. 'Cause they're all horrible.
I thought it was very telling that episodes like it's called like the first prank or the first joke or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It really like told a lot about her character when she like punks them on Halloween and they're all just like shaking and crying. And she's like, "Ha! It's a joke." And they're
Just
like, you don't know
angrily.
how to joke right. But yeah, like they're all just like so mad, and I felt like that was really, really indicative of her character, right? That
Right.
served the purpose of letting us know like who she is to her friends deep down. So if you don't think that she's dead, whose skull do they keep waving X-rays around of?
Well, I think that's on the infamous page 5, which we still don't get closure here on season 2. I think
Yeah,
something
that's
in
true.
there is gonna, it's like not her, or is inconclusive or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
they're
like,
able to
we knew
figure
it was
out
the
that-
shovel the whole time. We just left
Yeah.
it out there in the woods, hoping
shovel.
you'd come back.
Oh,
That's
the
what I'm saying.
shovel.
What?
They knew it was. They can tell that she suffocated from, drowning, but nobody's ever thought to run her DNA. Like,
They
they're all
tested
up in
her blood.
Yeah.
They have blood evidence in theory, although that fucking cop
Yeah.
Yeah.
messed everything up. So
Yep.
I don't know, man. I feel like he's got a lot of information to tell. One of the biggest things to me, and this is again, it's all very confusing, is that in theory, like if Allie isn't dead, then A is different than the murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, which I thought was very interesting, because you're kind of untangling. They kind of become synonymous for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like obviously whoever killed Allie is A, but this season really kind of pulls those into two different threads, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like this season changed from. I felt like last season we thought maybe, like you said, A killed Allie and was coming for them, right?
Right.
And now it was like A is a different thing, and Allie knew about A beforehand and was trying to track A, and was fighting against A, and so this is A's retaliation against Al. So it's like, and it was but yeah, okay. I personally think that the girls are a false narrative. And so I think that, the scene with the ice cream really flipped it for me. I had seen a scene in the first episode of the second season, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but I remember thinking, like, I think this is like a false narrative, and then that ice cream scene really solidified it with me, because I think what happened is, I don't think anything like this is going on. I think they're all having a psychotic break. I don't know if you guys seen there was a show, I forgot what it's called, but it was like part of the Marvel universe, and it was about something Shield, and it was about superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who hosted the show, I'm gonna sound like my mom for 5 seconds. The guy who hosted the show, who is the actor who was like the main character of that show.
You're thinking Agents of Shield?
Yeah, Agents of Shield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he always is saying, "Oh, I came back from Hawaii, and it's a magical place."
Right.
And you find out later that it was,
Spoilers for everybody.
Yeah, Agent Seal spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1.
But what I'm saying is I think that's Iceland for Arya. I don't think she came back from Iceland. I think she was told she came back from Iceland, but she had a psychotic break. And so I think that the girls, that this girl was just such a horrible person to them, that they killed her, and
they're all dealing with it in their own.
Yeah, and then ate her corpse.
What?
So that way there was no remnants of her anywhere. Mm-hmm. All right, and then killed another girl, and to pretend that it was Allie, and then to, make sure that everybody thinks that this is Allie. And then they have a psychotic break, and then you've
been watching Yellow Jackets.
No, my fiance
spoilers for Yellow Jackets.
The crossover event that you didn't know that you always needed.
My fiance has, and I've been having to listen to Yellow Jackets. So,
wow, Laurie Darkbloom, that is huge.
Yeah, and I think they had a psychotic break, because I think what happened, like, if you look at it from like just a very like not sinister place, Melissa asking for that ice cream is not like the craziest thing in the world, right? But they make it seem it's like like Arya looked at her like she should be looking at Ezra every single time he tries to kiss her. Like that's how horrible she was for asking to eat that ice cream.
I mean, I think that it was the threatening nature which she seemed to take the ice cream, but I really like Laurie. I love the idea that maybe one of them, like Arya, killed Allison, and she has convinced herself that she didn't, and now all of this is like a psychosis.
Yeah.
Jeez. So is the show
that would
then
be
not
tricky.
real? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that would be very tricky, because who's then like sending the texts when they're all sitting there in a circle? Who would do this? Who would do that? But I mean, there's a world in which like these parents, their families are fucked. There's a world in which, like, to protect their girl, the parents are reinforcing this psychosis to keep her protected. Like, every time something gets close to her, they step in and pay somebody off, or
I just thought of this right now. Or Byron, Arya's father, killed Arya and Allie to when they saw him kissing his student or coworker or whatever,
right?
And then now he's just had a complete psychotic break where he just dreams up things where Arya and her friends are being.
That would explain why there's so many older men sleeping with very young women.
Yes, yeah.
Full circle. Look, it came down. It all makes sense now. I apologize for everything that I said. It all makes sense. It's totally justified. It's a story mechanic.
I doubled down twice on what I said. So if you didn't like it before, you're definitely going to not like it this time.
So just to recap, Laurie Darkbloom's theory of Pretty Little Liars, it's all a psychosis from Byron Montgomery's point of view. The entire show so far is Byron Montgomery trying to make sense of everything.
I started it with the girls, but I'll say Byron. Yeah, Byron.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a first for the show, and I'm
It's a
blown
hot
away.
take.
It's a hot take.
Yeah.
Amánda Toffee, do you have your own A theory?
Man,
that's hard to follow. I know.
I don't know how to follow that. I actually
think
don't.
It's Spencer. Bye.
No. If anybody, it's Ezra.
He's a pedophile.
A is short for a pedophile.
Yeah.
I mean, I really kind of hate you for this, Chris, because it's gonna bother me. Like I'll have to like spend time in my life thinking about this and theorizing who it is. Can I ask you a question before I answer?
Yeah.
So we're discussing up to the finale of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
There is and I know there have now been like multiple iterations, and there's a new one coming out, or has just come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through real quick how many like seasons make up each thing and what they purport? Like, do we, in theory, at the end of this OG Pretty Little Liars, find out who A is?
So I'm watching in real time.
Okay.
And I know Laurie this will reveal the secret, but Laurie, don't tell me if you've watched there or not. But I know a few people who have watched the series finale of this show,
of the original
of this show we're watching, and they said they don't remember who A is, which is such a funny thing that more than one person has said that to me. They don't remember how it wraps up.
That sounds so unsatisfying.
I'm going to tell you guys. I read the synopsis of each season.
Okay.
After I finished watching,
you're not going to ruin it, are you?
I'm trying to turn on my headphones. Okay.
No, I swear to God.
Okay.
I swear to God, I'm not going to ruin it.
That would be so mean.
I'm going to get a text later, and
yeah. And it's going to say, "Gotcha, bitch." A.
It's J.K. Rowling. She comes in as a special appearance. No, I have more questions than I do answers. You do know who A is. I think. Like,
that's the answer I always get, which is so interesting.
But here's the thing. I haven't watched it. So I have a feeling that if you watch it, you'll know more. But yeah.
So there's how many more seasons of this current
5
episode? 5.
Yeah,
there's 5 total in this current
7 total seasons.
Oh my God. How much more pretty can these liars get? So 7 total in this series.
Yeah.
And then there's another one, right?
There's another one who I had Original Sin, I think.
Original Sin. I saw that like icon. And is that the same cast?
It is considered I don't want to say a sequel. It is connected but not related, and I had a friend watch it and she said don't, because they spoil stuff like episode 1 from the original show. So
okay. So it takes place in the same universe, but not the same characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the new one that's dropping on, I think, HBO Max. Do we know anything about that one? There
is another A, and inspired by the A that was revealed in the series finale of this show, I guess. And they're terrorizing some more teen girls. So
it is teens again. It's not the same characters as the original, all grown up.
Correct. However, there are rumors, and I don't know if it's true, that we might see cameos.
Spot.
Yeah, we might see Lucas walk in and say, "Hey, I've gone through therapy and I'm fine now." I don't know.
Yeah, get on my boat.
It's totally, guys. Boat's totally safe now.
Yeah,
boat's totally safe now.
So I have a question for you guys, and I'm trying to put this the best way so it doesn't sound sinister, because I feel like it's going to sound sinister coming from me. Fuck you. No. It's not a spoiler, but I was gonna say, do you guys want to know at what episode you find out possibly who A is? I'm not gonna tell you anything about that. But do you want to know like what episode it would be?
So I can go watch just that after this?
Yeah.
Can I answer your question with a question?
Yeah.
I know I'm putting you both on the spot, but would Amánda Toffee and Laurie Darkbloom like to return to talk about that episode in 8 years when I finally get to that?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that would be really
Yes,
cool.
yes, 1,000 times yes.
Yeah,
Great.
of course.
I can't believe that you want to have us back,
Yeah.
but I'm thrilled that you do.
We're thrilled. And I think what we should do is not talk until that episode.
Yeah. So this will be the last time
Yeah.
I speak to the two of you
Great,
Yeah.
perfect.
until 2030 when I get there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right,
Great.
excellent. Good friendship.
I'll have just adopted a baby. So my schedule might be a little crazy.
Yeah,
We'll
we
work
watched
it
a
in.
lot of stuff during nap time.
I don't. If you don't want to, what I can do is we can just keep going, and then I could tell Amanda off the show, or
Yeah, that's fine. And then
and then you, whenever you keep going, and then I'll send you a text and be like, okay, now's the time. We're up at that episode.
Well, I'll share with you when I first started this show, I was being super nerdy about it. I was like, I don't even want to tell you all when we find out. Knowing the show is 7 seasons, it's clear, especially with this finale, we're not going to know to near the end. I mean,
Yeah.
that's obvious now. So I would assume it's near the end. I'm actually surprised it's not the final episode. So you've already piqued my interest, Laurie, that it's not the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to, I mean, obviously, because I keep asking questions like, how many are there? I tried to steer, like, as soon as I found out we were doing this, I tried to fully, like, blinders, earmuffs, everything that I could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, like, it was really challenging because I'd be like, oh, who's that actor? And I go to IMDb them and I'm like, nope, I, like, completely didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a real joy to watch movies with because I'm just constantly IMDbing everybody all the time.
Oh, I do. I Wikipedia plot lines, and I'll be like, "This is coming up to star," and she's like, "God damn it, stop doing that."
Yeah, I to go back to your core question, Chris, like, I like the idea that one of the girls killed Allie.
Mm.
Which girl has a sister? Spencer?
Spencer, yeah.
Spencer. Yeah.
I think the
well,
likely
technically, Hannah
culprit.
also now has a sister. So
Correct.
Yeah.
A marriage. Mhm.
I think likely what could be very interesting and very fun is that Spencer killed Allie and then her sister is now they're in on it together, which is why their relationship, one of the reasons it's like so complicated and weird, and on top of all the other boyfriend husband sharing stuff.
yeah.
So wait, are you saying that Spencer has forgotten, right? However, she's forgotten this, and Melissa is covering for her and is
kind of
mad about that she's
kind
like,
of.
That's, oh wow.
There's like resentment there, and I think that Spencer's like, that happened, she completely blocked it out. But Spencer's very smart.
Yes.
But imagine
Oh, yeah.
she's like the smart, insane one's the most dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
She's so smart. She's constantly highlighting things.
She knows about Mary of Scots, Queen of Scots. She was not Lady Gaga or Britney.
Yeah.
She was a queen, and she knew about the queen's backstory.
Yeah.
She's the smartest person I've ever heard of. So I don't know. There's something to me. I like Laurie's idea of it being somebody really, really close, and I'm gonna stick with that. It's this within the circle of girls. I think one of them killed, and is now by means of like a psychosis, basically.
Oh wow. So like Spencer is doing A stuff, but maybe not remembering that she's doing A stuff too. Oh wow. That's That's amazing. Two amazing theories tonight, listeners. Wow.
Side convo.
That's what I'm going to title the subtitle for this episode.
Yeah.
Side convo.
When you talked about Melissa Spencer being smart, I love the thing about how the only buddy smarter than Spencer is Melissa, and then she starts arguing about that, and I'm like, you mean to tell me that the girl who can't swing a dead cat without falling in love with a child molester is the smartest person you all know? That is the smartest person Like, I mean, I was just like, well, that just explains a lot about this town. If Melissa is the genius of the town. Oh, I don't know. I thought more people would be riled up about that.
Well, I mean, I think the smartest
Yeah.
people are the people far removed from all this drama. It's the background people that are just going to class and they go home, eat dinner with their family, and then they just stay out of all this drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like this one guy who's just like, y'all need Jesus. All right, I'm getting in my truck.
The smartest ones. It's like I couldn't believe she's like, oh, I don't want him sleeping on a bus bench, and they show him, and they've got a full campsite set up. You are 16, and you sourced camping gear, set up a tent, built a fire in a safe way, bought groceries, and reserved a campsite?
Yeah.
Same day?
Well, Caleb is a hacker, remember?
Yeah.
He makes super
He's
phones.
like, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, I can't believe she did it either.
No, and also like, but
Of
also
all the
it's like,
things in the show, I was like, I'm sorry. This is the least believable thing. I set up a tent 1 year for Mike's birthday. You know how long it took me? In our backyard.
oh, we,
It took a long time.
my fiance and I bought a tent, and we were like, we're tent people now. We have to use this tent. We set it up in her parents' backyard, and I was like,
I
never
remember
again.
that.
Never again.
They're not tent people.
It was hurt. It hurt. Every part of my body hurt. The tents are not built for large marges. It was the worst. And then on top of that, it was like somehow colder on the inside than it was on the outside. I don't know. It was just
But then
bad.
they had sex in it.
Yeah.
What if I fan correct this for you and say they hired somebody? They had like someone they on standby who takes care of all that for Hannah and Caleb.
But still, okay, this show still passed the sexist narrative that like men are just like, they're simple, they're just gonna sleep on a park bench. It's just like, can we just shut that shit down? You know, it's not a woman's job to care about your spine. You know, it's like you gotta take care of your own, your own shit. All right, that man is 17 going on 36. He cannot lay on a park bench and be able to and not slip a disc.
He is, though, I think, one of the very most likable characters.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's also like, how many times
Wisdom just etched on his face.
how many times is he gonna like almost have like a happy family dynamic and then it just turns like dark
To
real
mush.
quick? Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we hinted on this. I know we're running long, but is that a little bit of the soap opera style of the show? Because there is a little bit of that genre. Obviously it's a teen drama, it's a mystery show, right? It's a little horror, but there's also the soap opera aspect where no one can truly be. I don't think anyone's never going to be truly happy in this whole show.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to ever be truly happy, and no one's truly dead, ever.
Yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
part of it. I got to tell you, Chris, like since you brought it up, I really enjoyed it more. I started enjoying it more when I realized it was a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
I really, once that clicked in my head, that like genre button clicked for me, I really was able to enjoy it more and buy into that reality. I think we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I'm a big like rules gal, not like the everything. I want to know the rules of the world. So if the world is chaos, that's fine, but I want to know like what kind of chaos, what is the rule within that? If a character's nuts, it's like, great. Are they religious nuts? Are they, like spooky? Like what's their deal? And I kept looking for that in the beginning of the show, and it was driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So once I really embraced like, oh, it's a soap opera, I was a lot happier watching it. Makes sense. It was kind of a little tangent.
Yeah.
But I just
Laurie, are you
wanted to-
happier?
No, because if it's a soap opera, then I wanted to have like legal aged people having sex with legal aged people, so I can be like, all right, I'm into this.
Yeah, it doesn't age well.
I'll see
Yeah.
this. I'll see this. These
Just
two
like
get it on.
Caleb, it doesn't age well.
Yeah.
Just another bird.
Bless his heart. Bless his mature little heart.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, the only one who looks like they haven't had work done is Lucas. And the actor who plays Lucas, and he turned out to be a psychopath.
Boat
not
guy?
the actor who played Lucius, but yeah, the boat guy. So, I was just like, I was kind of hoping that Hannah and Lucas would, make it
Yeah,
work.
they seem like they'd be a good fit.
Yeah. But
They
then he-
definitely lead us there, and then there's a huge turn.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to allow space for rants and raves. I feel like we might have covered
we've
that.
Used it up. We've filled the space.
So there's
All right.
anything else you two
I
want to
got-
get off your chests? Anything we
The
haven't?
jewelry. No, I'm kidding.
Anything
The
that
fashion,
we haven't really...
the fashion of the aughts is amazing. Seeing it all again brings it all back.
Mhm.
Yeah. So many skirts over like leggings. I'm like,
So many, all the layers.
Yeah.
The runway episode, so funny. So much gratuitous runway.
Yeah.
I liked the reveal at the end of with the runway show, like this bitch is like so angry and so funny. Anything else we want to get off our chests?
I mean, we've touched upon Ezra. I think we've expressed how we feel about that relationship. But
we
if
have.
haven't-
Most of the
I-
relationships really
Yeah.
like
problematic.
it happens over and over again. That was really my biggest
Yeah.
thing is like, God, this is like we've seen this now already, like over and over again. Stop romanticizing it. If you're gonna do that, then like it should be a one-time deal. But I understand it's like also sign of the times situation, and I can't go back and change that. And you gotta like meet something where it is, right? Yeah, a lot of it hasn't aged well. It would be very interesting to see if I'm thinking like, oh, reimagining this for now. The villains would be the cops, right? Even more than that one cop. That one cop would be it'd be like a cover-up situation, and they would end up being because they, you know what I mean? Like there are ways to really like freshen up this material and make it, not just relevant, but like pleasant to watch and still intriguing and still soapy and still fun. So it would be interesting to see how they do this for a time for now, after Me Too, after all of these things that with more diversity, ideally. Poor beautiful girl carrying the whole thing on her back. Well, two diverse people, and then they killed one of them. So, yeah.
But she always looked like she was falling asleep, anyways. So
I thought she was a cutie patootie.
She's attractive, but she definitely. I think what it was is that she was too energetic, and they were like, "You got to calm it down.
You got to bring it down."
I was going to say, I feel like they never let her be happy for any second at all.
No.
Like they're like, even when you're doing karaoke, look like you hate it. You do not want to be there.
I will say that I think that going along the trope of like nobody dies, nobody moves away forever. Like so many people are moving back in and out. Honestly, I would love to have a side like Comedy Central show where it's just Rosewood movers and it's just them moving everyone.
All the secrets they keep finding in the boxes and stuff.
I know who A was within like 45 seconds.
I dated A. I know you did. It's like, what about this lacrosse stick? It's covered in blood. Toss it. Throw it away.
We don't want to be involved.
We don't want to be involved with it. Bury it. Bury it out in the woods.
Hey, yo. A, let me A or A.
Hey, are you A? Rosewood movers. We'll move it. We won't say shit about it.
That's right. That's our motto.
That's our motto.
Look, we just put the top on it, sweetie. We don't care where it comes from.
We don't ask questions. You don't ask us anything either. Hey, are you A?
Hey.
This is amazing, and I love it. Is this the part where Chris guesses what we've seen?
I think so.
Yes.
I think both of you have watched more than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try here. I'm gonna say both of you have watched all of season 1, and Laurie got through most of season 2, and Amanda, maybe you skipped around middle of season 2. How did I do?
Who do you I was going to say something and then I lost track. You did terribly. You were way off the mark.
Great.
Could not have been worse. Amanda, do you want to
Sure.
The big reveal.
So I will say you were right in one thing, Chris, which Laurie doesn't even know, and that is that there were a couple of episodes in season 2 that I missed.
Okay.
And that was because I fell asleep watching it last night, and I was like, I woke up and I was like, oh, fuck it. And I just picked up like kind of where I left off.
Okay.
That's what happened in season 2. So you were right about that.
Okay. Partial
However, here is how Laurie and I divvied this up after a lot of discussion.
And if you think about the best way to do it, throw that out the window.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
So you two would not be A, is what you're saying.
We would not be, or we'd be brilliant because we're chaos. We are chaos.
We are chaos.
We brought chaos into your life. Laurie, we both watched both seasons.
Oh, okay.
We both watched both these seasons. I was supposed to watch the whole thing. I did not because of the thing I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Laurie watched the first half of every episode. I watched the second half of every episode. That look on your face is what we wanted.
For those at home, my mouth is open. So wait, how would you then communicate what you watch? Would you just like chat about it?
We didn't talk about it at all.
No.
Well, that's a lie. We did talk, but it was just like this fucking guy. That's what we did.
Yeah.
It was like me texting Laurie to be like, is this relationship ever going to end? Is he ever going to go to prison? That was it. And her being like, have you gone to the poetry reading yet? And me being like, no. And she's like, all right, wait. And that was it. This is the first in-depth conversation we've had. We haven't spoken in real life. We've only spoken via just like text message.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is how we divvied up the episodes. So I usually caught up by when they did like the previously on. I was like, cool. But what's very interesting is that oftentimes I would, like a new one would start and I'd be like, I got to switch it. And they'd like start with something. And then I'd skip 22 minutes in, and they'd be talking about the thing that they were talking about right before I skipped. And I was like, oh, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's how I felt watching the beginning because they would do, a previously on.
Yeah.
But then they would also always recap in the beginning of the show what happened the previous show.
There's so much exposition in every scene. Like, I think I experimented a little bit because I was like, if I watch the previously on, does it matter? And the answer is like, not really. And now granted, maybe all the guys would look different to me if I like watched more of the show. But I realized that every time there's always a girl joining the group of girls. And they all say my favorite line, which is, why didn't you tell us?
Why didn't you tell us? Yeah.
And then one of the girls always has to lay out exactly what's happening. And that happens, it turns out, right around the midpoint of the episode. So if I skip 22 minutes, I would love for your listeners, especially if they've seen the show, to just try this as an exercise. Go to like 21, 22 minutes in. Because they're on average, they're, like 44 minutes. Go to the very middle of the episode and watch it and just be like, oh, here's a big exposition. Within like 5 minutes, within the first 5 minutes, somebody is recapping what has already happened.
Yeah.
It's really funny and wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is that an artifact maybe? Because this used to be on ABC Family / Freeform and they had commercials.
Yeah, commercial breaks.
Is that an artifact? Because we're now in the streaming era. Is that an artifact of coming back from commercial and catching an audience who might have been taking?
Oh, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
sure. Because they didn't have, when I say they didn't have, like, TiVo, we did have TiVo, but not everyone had it.
No, it was like...
It was like only
TiVo?
rich people had it.
Yeah, it was like a question mark, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, So that's what I think. I think it's like kind of a device, a remnant of that, where it's like, all right, a quick little one-sentence summary. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Because this is how I feel about it. Okay, moving on. It was really very, very interesting to me.
Very cool.
So it was funny because like sometimes I get to an episode where she just like runs in and slaps the shit out of a blind girl. I'm like, oh no, what happened? But also like the blind girl's a tool, so like there you go.
Yeah.
So it's like only so much. But when you have a show that's so emotion driven, you don't really have to, like, story comes second.
Yeah.
Which is ironic for a mystery.
I felt so conflicted when I saw that because my one part of me was like, they're slapping a blind woman that they
and then they hand her
they were a
sunglasses.
bystander of her being blind, and then my other part was like, yeah, fuck her. She's such an a-hole. I don't know why, but her smirk makes me want to punch her in the face.
Just like, I love though that she also just moves like an old lady. Like,
Yeah.
she's still a young, able-bodied girl. Like, if you ever met anyone that is not sighted, they're a human being. They move like a person. She's
Yeah.
just like moves like this ancient, like little old lady. It's like, does everything else broken too?
I honestly
Have you
thought
lost all of
funny-
your senses?
it's funny you say that because when she was introduced, I honestly, because the first time you see her, she's walking in a funeral. She's walking down a funeral. So I was like, oh, so she's going slow because like I didn't clock.
She's a
it
widow.
then. Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't clock. Yeah, and then you see her again, and then you're like, oh, well, she's walking with somebody. So maybe they're, it's slow because you're walking together. And then I saw her again, and she was still walking slow. And I was like, are her bones, like, does she have a brittle bone?
Little bird bones.
What's going on why can't she walk at a normal pace?
I think we've cracked the case. That's what's going on here.
This is going on. Is that what you expected, Chris?
No, tonight was completely unexpected from start to finish, and I'm delighted in every second.
Chaos reigned.
I'm so glad.
I have one more point I'd like to make.
Please.
I think Noel is Ben with a tan. That's what I think. I think Ben from first season, Emily's ex-boyfriend.
So you think Noel says, "I'm gonna"? So is one of them real, or
I think Ben went psycho,
right,
and then bleached his skin a little bit, and then went and pretended to be Noel, and then
which is the weird smug British doctor?
That's Ren with
Ren
with three N's. I call him Ren with three N's, even though that's not how he spells name.
Melissa's ex-fiance.
Hate that guy.
By the way, really quickly, we are so wildly over, but who cares? Noel Khan actually confronts Ezra in season 1 and says, I'm going to tell the principal. Of course, he blackmails him as a result. But in that moment, Noel is like doing the right thing. And I still find that moment fascinating.
Yeah, he's for sure he's doing the right thing for sure.
Right. Well, would have. And then he's like, I got stuff on you now. Get me a grade. I was like, oh, no, we were so close.
Also, like, dude, blackmail higher. Aim higher.
Yeah.
A grade in English? Really?
And he was doing so much work to
have him rent you a car. You can't rent a car because you're a child.
Yeah. He had him printed out the essay again and handed it to him. It's like, you're doing so much work to blackmail him. You're not good at blackmailing. He had to be like, I don't think you understood me the last time. It's like, if you have to repeat yourself, you're not doing a good job. Like, this is not a good blackmail.
Also, Ezra's not a good teacher. I'll say it. I'll say it. He's also not a good teacher.
Just on sheer absences, he's gone. Like
he's gone all the time.
If this has been only a year, so he's been only teaching a year.
First year
out of school, right? Teaching.
He's been gone. Like, I mean, I want to say like 80 days. He's been gone.
Is one of those unlimited PTO maybe at the high school and college?
No. I don't know. Don't ask me how I know, but I know.
Yeah, Laurie Darkbloom. No one knows.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts as we?
I think you should end it now before either one of us
launch
has a thought that
again.
pops. Because I mean, my brain's stirring, but I can't think of one.
My thought is that it was lovely being here. And thank you for asking us. And I hope that if we let you down, we did it so big that you still had a good time.
Amánda Toffee, never would you let me down. This was absolutely what I expected.
Have another idea. I think Hannah's mom killed everyone. Because if you think about it, she's the saddest character out of all of them. She's the saddest character, and I think Hannah's mom killed everyone.
It's just a matricide plus.
Yeah, and she had a psychotic break. Or maybe when her husband left, she just imagined. Maybe she lost Hannah in the womb, and then her and her husband separated, and so now she just is imagining Rosewood. It's like not like a Jacob's Ladder, but it's like, So
you're saying in season 7, after hundreds of episodes, the show's going to reveal this was all a dream.
Well, okay, I asked this question before. Do you guys want me to tell you what episode you find out who?
No, but you can
possibly-
text.
okay.
You can text me and tell me.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Okay.
and then as we get closer, I definitely, if you so are willing,
Oh, I'm sorry. if
Amánda
you-
Toffee and Laurie Darkbloom to return to talk about that episode.
Sure.
Let
Okay.
your voice be heard. If you don't want us back on this, you better let Chris know, because otherwise he's going to do something terrible,
Yeah.
and that is have us back.
Yeah, Emily, give a yay or nay.
I am going to be checking back in with Chris to be like, what did people think of this episode?
Yeah.
Please, feedback. There is a feedback form in the show notes.
Are they so mad?
And I am actually going to do some social media. I've been avoiding social media because I didn't want people, a troll, to find me and go, "Hey, A is Arya, ha ha ha," and then like ruin the entire experience for me. But
I don't think anyone's gonna have any issues with this episode. I think you're
Arya's
gonna
name starts with A and ends with A.
there it is. Suspicious.
get no idea.
Um,
kidding.
Amánda Toffee and Laurie Darkbloom. I know you may not want to share any projects you're working on, but if there's anything you want to plug, otherwise we could wrap. The silence is deafening, so I think they have said their piece. Thank you all for listening. I will be starting season 3 September 2nd, so I'm not sure when you'll hear this. I'm starting season 3 in September, so thank you all for listening. Amánda and Laurie, amazing. Thank you.
Thank
You for
you.
being here. As I always say, I've said way too much.